Hubert H. Humphrey once said, "The greatest gift of life is friendship." We know that adversity can challenge friendships. So let us know, how has COVID-19 affected your friendships?
So I have another one for you. Since our connection to other people, our family, our loved ones is our lifeline, how are you maintaining connection in our socially distant world? Don't forget, write your responses in our comments.
That's what we're talking about today. Friendships and staying connected to friends during a time in which we can't connect physically.
Welcome to Empowering Your Thoughts, an outreach ministry of Christ International Church. On this program, we deal with mental health issues and how they intersect with our faith. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share this program with a friend. And your hosts for today's show and mental health advocates, Tabitha Perez, Valerie Taylor, and Nicole McKenzie.
Hi, I'm Tabitha.
Hi, I'm Valerie.
Hi, and I'm Nicole. So Tab, tell us more. We're talking about being socially distant and still maintaining our connection. What you got for us today?
Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you all once again for tuning in to Empowering Your Thoughts. So let's let the air out of the balloon right now. Friendships during COVID-19 is hard. It's hard to maintain friendships when we're so concerned and we're so worried and we're so tense about everything that's going on in the world. The cadence of our normal lives, the schedule, the cycles that we normally go through in a year, our birthdays, some of them are canceled. A lot of our celebrations that we normally get to connect with people, they're kind of canceled during this time. Those times in which we took a break out of our regular lives to connect with friends, and those things that we infused into our schedules to make sure we stayed connected with our friends, we kind of can't do those right now. We kind of can't do many of those things. And so how are we going to stay connected to to the people we love so much in our lives? So being in a house is a blessing, right? Having a house, a roof over our head right now, we all understand that it's a blessing. But being in that house 24/7 feels a little more trapping than normal, right? I feel like that's the same for friendships. Having friends is a blessing. It's really helpful to us, but kind of staying trapped in the normal way we connect with one another, this 24/7 thing during COVID-19, and not really getting creative on how we connect with one another, it can feel a little bit trapping, kind of like being at home for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can feel a little trapping. So let's talk about a little bit of the health benefits for having friendships and being friends. According to the Mayo Clinic, friendships increase your sense of belonging and purpose. They boost your happiness and they reduce stress in your life, being with friends in relationship with people. They improve your self-confidence and self-worth. They help you cope with trauma, such as divorce, serious illness, joblessness, death. During this COVID-19, it's really important to really lean on your friends right now because they can help you cope with traumas. I know that's really true for me because my friends and those who are in my life have really been there for me during some really difficult times of my life. And then they encourage you to change and or avoid unhealthy lifestyle habits, such as excessive drinking or excessively exercising, I don't think any of us are excessively exercising right now, but some people might be doing that. And so the friends really bring that balance into our lives and really help us to maintain a little better the balance. And so giving and receiving friendships is beneficial to all. I think we talked about it a few weeks back when we were talking about grief, how a brother is raised up for adversity or a friend is raised up for adversity. So the difficult times right now is the time we really need to lean on those people who we have in our lives. And so during COVID-19, as many other things, friendship looks a little different. It looks a little, it doesn't look the same as it looked before. I know personally, being an extroverted person, someone who works in retail, who it serves at a church, who enjoys being out of the house most of the time, I get filled up in community with others. So I thought for sure I was going to be struggling during COVID-19 when they first gave us the 2-week stay-at-home order. I thought for sure. I got a friend, I coupled up, I said, hey, we're going to be each other's partners during this time, and we're going to make sure we're quarantine friends, essentially. That was when we had the 2 weeks. And so every day there was some sort of engagement, all hours of the day, not every hour, I won't lie there, but most of the day there was some kind of connection, some kind of engagement going on. Then we got the federal order, or the order to stay at home from the larger government that said, starts now, we're going to go for a month. And it was like, wait a minute, we already did 2 weeks. What do you mean? What do you mean we're going to do now a month after the 2 weeks? And so because us here in Orange County, we went a little earlier than the curve of everyone else, and I'm grateful for it. But that just means we've been at home for a bit longer than the national orders. And so maintaining that same high level of engagement, that same high level of friendship, that same high level was a little harder. It was a little more difficult to be engaged 100% with someone 24 hours a day, or at least 4 hours a day, every single day. That became harder. My engagement level kind of followed this little bit of a bell curve, where we went up to where we knew we were going into, quarantine. And then once they told us about that, through that extra month, oh, I mean, it stayed up there for a while. It started to decline a little bit. And then once you get outside, you get into the habit of not, it gets easier and easier to not. And so I felt completely off a cliff of engagement. And some days, I mean, there's nothing. That's just my thing, is that social engagement sometimes, working in retail and working in the public sector, it's high, but you get to go home, right? And you get to take a load off. And when during this time where there's this kind of consistent feed of social media, consistent feed of talking to each other, consistent feed, and there's no lag off time that we can just be with our thoughts, times that we can just, be with ourselves. And so I'm going to give you guys 5 tips a little bit later on how to maintain friendships and maintain connection during this time of COVID-19. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of feedback about friendships and their experience of COVID-19 from my co-hosts. What do you ladies have to say?
Well, Tab, I think that's great, and it's really right on point for what is going on right now. I do want to share something kind of personal. Friendships for me are hard. They always have been hard. It's not that it's not easy for me to engage with people, get to know people, or try to make those connections, but then maintaining them seems hard. I am a giver by nature, so I give my all in the relationships that I have. And so I just often don't see that ever reciprocated. And I've seen that now during COVID-19 a little bit more than usual. I do understand that everyone goes through different things right during this time. It's not easy. But, I find myself checking in with people who I consider friends and just not being checked up on as much, or even just being checked up at all, by some people. And so I think that as we enter adulthood, it's a lot more challenging to make those genuine connections with people.
Absolutely.
Who value the same things that we do, and share the same ideas, and really just like to, share the same interests. So in that sense, I just want to encourage anyone who may be like me, that if you do have maybe 1 or 2 close friends, that now is a very important time to just maintain that connection, even if it is with, a small number. As long as it's a relationship of quality, it really is what matters.
And to that end, what you were saying, you don't really, it's harder in adulthood. I have a couple friends that are really close, and they both are from my childhood. I mean, I have people who I've connected with in adulthood, and I've got a couple deep connections, people I've met later on in life. But the people I would put in the friend category, for sure, people I've known for 10, 20, 30 years, not 30, but 10, 20 years.
Close to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it can be hard because the older we get, it's almost like the smaller our social circle gets.
Absolutely.
Being a professional working in Orange County Public Schools, the schools are thousands of students, sometimes multiple. And so you go from thousands of people, then maybe go to university where there's even more people, and then you go into your workplace and it's kind of small. So making friendships and connections as you get older can be more challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why, but it's worth that effort. When we were discussing this topic, I was just thinking of Maslow and how his hierarchy of needs is. You know,
Yes.
just after you have a roof over your head, you feel safe. That next important thing that we all need as thriving humans is connection. We need to have a place where we belong. We need to know
for sure
where we are connected and what our group are, who are our people, who is our squad. We need to make those connections.
Exactly.
We need that.
Somewhere.
As Christians, we are hardwired for relationship. We are, God created us because he wanted to have relationship. And that same, we're created in his likeness. So we are hardwired for connection. Even babies, when they are born, there's certain things that they're going to do to elicit connection from their mothers. So we are hardwired for connection. And in this time of being socially distant, we have to work a little bit more harder. We have to work more creatively to maintain that connection. Because as I said in the beginning, it's our lifeline. We need this. Above, like I said, roof over our heads, food, toilet paper, next
one up,
safety, then right above that, connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, ladies, so much for your input. And you kind of hinted at it in that they're different friends for different things. Sometimes I'll have to call one friend for something, another friend for something. You have that one friend who you're going to get the laugh from. You're going to call that friend for a laugh. We just can't. So many psychologists, especially Esther Perel, she's a psychotherapist, really talks about the way relationships morph and change. And lately, we've just been expecting more and more from that one person. And right now, it's the spouse. We expect them to be so much more when that a community could once have given us. And right now, to outsource what you need from your community is going to be so important. One relationship will not give you everything you need. Let's say that now. One relationship will not give you everything you need. Outsource your joy if you need to. It comes from the Lord, but he uses people. Outsource the intellect that you may need. Outsource what you may need from people around you. They've been placed there for a reason. Let's get into the 5 tips. And now we're going to talk about the 5 tips on how to remain connected to your friends during COVID-19. What do you got for me, ladies?
So the first tip is to get creative to fend off social fatigue. How do we do this, Tab?
Absolutely. That's what I was talking about earlier. When you get on that bell curve, when you feel yourself about to plummet to nothingness or to the abyss, really switch it up. Kind of switch up the way you communicate with your friends. Instead of having this hour-long conversation weekly, watch a movie together, do things you would normally do just over a phone, have a meal together. You make something together or bake something together, and then sit down and eat it together with the food on the plate, as we call back to another episode we talked about. Put the food on the plate, sit down and have that phone in front of you and really just have a conversation like you would at dinner any other time. Bake a recipe, share Netflix suggestions, be the distraction that they need from this time of, when we're all worried about so much. Be the distraction that friend needs without the heaviness of really emotionally drudging through everything every single time.
Yes. Tip number 2, still figure out a way to create memories. Tell me about that, Tab.
For sure. I think the most important part of friendship is what we can remember from the friendships that we have and the things in which we have, the memories that we have together. So during this time, we can't be together, but we can put a little light in the monotony of every day so that all this isn't just one chunk of time. We can think back on it next year and say, hey, somewhere around halfway point, we did that one thing. So Amazon Prime something to them that you could both wanted to try. do a fashion show. I know someone who calls it fashion show when they're trying out new clothes or trying out clothes they haven't worn for a while. They'll do fashion show to see what they still fit. Do fashion show with your friends. Mark the days, add sparkle to this time. Do something fun so that it's not just left as one big lump of time. Be silly with one another so you can remember what happened during this time.
Yeah. Number 3, know that it will be different.
Absolutely. It's going to be different. Don't get down about the difference, but just make the most of it. Find the one thing a day that you're grateful for and share it with that friend. Make it maybe once a week about that friend. Say, hey, I'm grateful for this about you weekly, but just every day find something to be grateful for and kind of share it with that friend or another friend so that you know that something's different, but you still have your head on your shoulders so that you're not getting down every day about what you're going through.
Tip number 4, plan and reschedule.
Absolutely. Plan and reschedule, just like any other time. This is regular. You plan and you have to reschedule. I honestly have canceled on things because my life got too busy. Right now, our lives aren't busy, but COVID-19 is quite busy right now. So plan it out. I had a plan to go with my best friend to somewhere. We didn't know exactly where yet. End of this month, beginning of next month, doesn't look like that's going to happen. But plan, reschedule, and then stick to the plan. Stick to whatever you committed to. We're still going to go somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be this year or if it's going to have to be January of next year. We will go somewhere. Plan and reschedule. And then number 5, choose to be there for them during this difficult time of COVID-19. The patterns of relationships, they change, and you're on a continuum with relationships with your friends, but this may be their time to be a little more needy emotionally. This may be their time to require a little more emotionally. Be there for them. Don't ghost on them. Don't ghost on your friends who really need you, who are going through something really difficult during this time, who are maybe dealing with a death, maybe dealing with illness themselves, maybe dealing with something in their physical bodies or their minds that's really causing them to be in ailment. Don't ghost on your friends. Be there for them. They've been there for you, I'm sure. Be there for them during this time. So yes, choose to be there for them during this difficult time. Don't ghost on them. That's the 5 tips we have for you. What are your tips? What are some of the things that you have that you've been doing during COVID-19 to keep your friendships alive?
Next week, our connection focus is going to be on family. One of my favorite things, some of my favorite people I was so grateful to be born into the family with. So we're going to talk about family next week, one of my favorites.
I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Empowering Your Thoughts, an outreach ministry of Christ International Church. Be empowered to think well.
Bye. Till next week. See you.